you for coming today. It's great to meet you.
Thank you for having me.
Do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure, I'm happy to. Yeah. So I'm Amanda Findley, Managing Director at MatchBOX Coworking Studio in Lafayette, Indiana. Prior to my time there, I got to work with Juliana at another place, so I'll let you tell that story, I guess.
Sure.
You mentioned hospitals before that. I was at a hospital. I worked in women's health marketing at a hospital in southeastern Indiana. That has been in the entrepreneurship, business development, economic development space for the last 15 years. And I know that because tomorrow my son turns 15, and I started working in that space when he was a tiny baby. So, yeah. Yeah. All right.
So I'm Juliana Casavan, Director of Operations at MatchBOX, and I've been there 5 years. She's been there for nine years.
9 of 10.
9 of 10 years that the place has been open. So long history there. But yeah, we together were at Purdue before. So we were actually working with the faculty that were commercializing their technologies at Purdue and trying to start companies based on their research. So we got to do that together over there for a while. I was at Purdue for 10 years total doing that kind of work. And then finally had a chance to connect back with Amanda and work together again and came over to MatchBOX. So yeah, I would say among our team, there's a couple other folks that are involved as well. We have quite a few years in entrepreneurship and startups, which is crazy because we're babies.
We're so young.
I don't know how that's even possible.
Oh no! That's so dramatic. It's back.
It came back. Okay.
Yeah, so Jason
Set it
Tenenhouse
that
is
part.
on the far left. Sarah Poor is on the far right. She does a lot of administrative work for us for these acceleration programs, and Jason co-founded MatchBOX and helped us get all of this acceleration activity going. Juliana also got to work with high school student entrepreneurs and students at Purdue. So at MatchBOX, it's a lot of community entrepreneurs. So I feel like we've got this pretty well-rounded, fully faceted vision of what entrepreneurship and business ownership can look like, and it's been really fun. But hundreds of companies over the last 15 years that we've all collectively worked with, and it's pretty amazing. We also all have our own side businesses, which gets us in your shoes every once in a while. So even if it's not our full-time thing, we all have worked for ourselves at some point in time and do intermittently. So we get kind of both sides of that perspective too. Yeah. Weird. We also work with it says 30 plus. I think it's got to be more than that.
It's
So
way more than that.
every cohort ends their class time with a mentor swarm, where you do some face-to-face time with mentors and present your business idea to them. In addition to that, we run a 12-week course over the summer that's fully mentor loaded. So that's 24 mentors through that class alone. But today we'll mostly talk about our 6-week acceleration course. We've been running this course in some capacity for the last 4 years. It's changed a lot over the years, how it started and what it is today looks very different. The pandemic forced it to be somewhat virtual or virtual accessible.
Yeah.
And we're delivering it now in Lafayette year round. In partnership with Ivy Tech Community College as the capstone for their Lafayette campus's entrepreneurship programs, and in the 9 counties surrounding Tippecanoe. So in partnership with the organization that works with, or is, I guess, promoting rural entrepreneurship. So we're at the point where it's around 100 founders that are going through this a year.
Yeah.
Wow, which is so fun.
It is.
We are a 501c3 nonprofit. Are you gonna push buttons?
No, yeah, I'm gonna push buttons for you and then.
Because I got broken toes?
Well, and to help a little bit. Yeah.
Thanks. So we're a nonprofit organization, and that kind of it makes it easier for us to do things like acceleration courses in an accessible way, because we don't ask for equity from the companies that we work with. You retain full ownership of your company. Your idea is always yours. It stays yours at the end. We'll always be your cheerleader. We'll never be your co-owner. We do a lot of fundraising. We apply for grants. Juliana mostly applies for grants. So this program is grant funded by the Indiana Economic Development Corporation. And they're making it possible for us to deliver the 6-week accelerator course in 3 communities throughout the state of Indiana in partnership with existing spaces. So we're super excited that Maven Space is one of them. We're Maven Space fangirls.
Yes,
too.
we are. It's a beautiful space.
It's so lovely. And a cool
And
model.
it's
It's a
women.
cool model, yeah.
Yeah, no.
It's women focused. We love that.
Oh.
Dramatic guests. When MatchBOX opened the doors, we were just a 12,000 square foot workspace. We didn't have formal programming or formal acceleration. We knew we had to formalize something though, because we were just like one-off, like coaching people in the space all the time. So we pulled together curriculum, and this is the course that we run now. We like it because we've seen how impactful a cohort of founders working together can be. The curriculum that we work through, the exercises that the founders do are meaningful and purposeful and intentional, but they're not magic. The magic is the group of people giving each other feedback and advice and support and answering questions and making introductions. So being able to provide that model with something structured, we think is kind of incredible. And we've just seen great outcomes from founders who have gone through the course. The connections that they make last forever. They turn into first customers or collaborators. So that, I think that's the part that gets us excited.
Are you familiar with like business accelerators or like startup accelerators?
Not really, this is my first one.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. Yeah, so that helps us kind of know how to talk about these things a little bit
Sure.
more too. Because I think that accelerators can feel like kind of a black box that, you know, people are a little bit leery of, and you know, you hear good, you hear bad, and so it can be very mixed reviews. And so I think kind of this conversation around what the difference is between maybe a traditional accelerator versus what we do, and the reasons why we're able to do it differently, you know, being a nonprofit, really changes, you know, the dynamics of the way that we interact with entrepreneurs as well.
Yeah. So traditional accelerators usually do take equity in your business. They're often highly competitive, only accept, you know, a small number of applicants, and they make their choices based on investment. So if they're taking equity, they want that equity to turn into as big of an investment as possible. They accept the companies that have the greatest growth potential. We are positioned to grant funds and care about impact and helping communities and allowing entrepreneurs and potential founders to start businesses that they maybe otherwise wouldn't start, or like need a nudge or need a support network. So it's not about equity, it's not about returns, and it allows us to make it much more accessible and open. And
Yeah, I think we look at like ideas like yours where that normally might not fit into an accelerator because they're looking for that, like, you know, next Facebook, next Twitter, next whatever, right? They want something that has like extreme exponential growth. Whereas we're looking at it and saying, from the perspective of a community, you being able to sustain yourself and sustain maybe a few other people that you subcontract or you have as employees working for you, but it keeps you here, keeps them here, but keeps the economy growing, right? The way that we're all looking for it to do. That part is also of great benefit and important, you know, to the impact of our own communities as well. So like we look at it and say, well, this is actually a great opportunity, right? For you to be able to own your own business, but it doesn't have to make billions of dollars, right? It can be something that is sustainable for you and, you know, and for your family and what you need, right? So I think it's being able to like open our eyes to other possibilities. You know, it doesn't have to be some major tech thing. It can be, you know, something that lets you do what you want to do and work the way that you want to work instead of, you know, just trying to fit into something else.
all right, next slide.
Yeah.
Around 100,000 new businesses start every year in Indiana, but very few of those fit like high-tech, high-growth accelerator criteria. So like, what is there to help those businesses? What can you walk through? There are a lot of programs in the state, and we are lucky to have so many existing programs. And we think that the more you can tap into and the more you can be part of, the more, you know, you can grow your network, test your ideas, the better.
Exactly. Yeah,
So
being
we're glad
like
to
a
be
part
one
of
them.
Maven Space and part of the Indie Biz Pass and part of this acceleration program, right? It's kind of that collection of networks so that you have, you know, more context to when it's like, oh, it's time to do this part. I already know people who do that part,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, so just under 500,000 existing small businesses in Indiana, 100,000 new ones every year. And we also found this data that 45% of Americans side hustle. So in addition to their full-time job, they're doing some kind of work, likely for themselves on the side. So that's around 2 million people in the state of Indiana who are doing something entrepreneurial, either full-time or part-time. And then our program's designed to, we can still help a high-tech, high-growth startup, but we can also help a florist on Main Street or a freelancer, someone who's providing a service business, a massage therapist, a product business. We have a few people who've gone through who have like physical products that they're selling, so we try to help them too.
Yeah, we had a woman who was on Shark Tank.
Wow.
Actually, she had a reusable breast milk storage bag. And so we had worked with her in a couple of different capacities. She had gone through the acceleration. Did she do dev too?
Yeah, she did the 12 week.
She did the 12-week program, and then did some one-on-one mentoring and things like that. And then, she eventually ended up on Shark Tank and has quite the business going for herself now.
I love that.
Yeah,
Pretty cool.
Yeah, it's great.
I just stare at it. So just a recap of some of the highlights of the program or what it looks like. The way it happens, your cohort will be around 10, maybe more, maybe a couple less. Founders who are like in the geographic region of Maven Space, members or maybe not. And you'll meet for 90 minutes once a week. They launch in April, likely April 9th. 5:30 to 7 p.m. And you can participate in person or virtually. So if getting here at 5:30 p.m. isn't feasible, you can participate over Zoom. The facilitator will sometimes be in person and will sometimes be on Zoom. In the lifespan of this program, we've graduated over 150 founders.
Almost 200.
And we think, almost 200. I'm a conservative numbers person. Our co-founder who was up there earlier just like blows numbers out of the water.
Yeah,
So
he would be
Juliana has to meet us in the middle. You like nudge me a little higher, bring him down. She's the only reasonable one around.
If that's the case, that's very scary for everybody.
Sorry.
I'm concerned.
Last time we surveyed graduates, around 70% were still operating. Not all are, and that's okay. We think that sometimes opting out is a good thing, especially if you're opting out early. You find that maybe your product's not quite right, the market's not there, maybe there's too much competition, or maybe the time's not right yet. That's okay. We don't push anyone to keep running a business that's not right for them, or profitable, or feasible. And sometimes going through these exercises makes you realize that you're not there yet. Maybe it's not the right time or not the right idea, and that's okay too.
Yeah, before you go get a big business loan or buy a building or, invest in a bunch of inventory.
Hire a contractor to build you a website.
Exactly.
We see people do all of these things
Yeah.
too. Like before they've confirmed that they can find a single client.
Yeah. So I think we like to do a little bit more kind of this small scale up, instead of thinking that it has to be big investment. Saves people a headache later too.
Yeah. And these are some of our founders. Chinobi's right in the middle. That's one Juliana was just talking about. Train Off Wall was a training company for rock climbers. And their first phase was like Zoom classes for training, and the second phase was building an app that rock climbers could use to train when they're not actually climbing. Pure Fortitude is mental and physical wellness company. A lot of like a heavy focus on moms. Always Nutrition Works is a nutritionist. She went through our class and is still a member of MatchBOX. I think she's gone through the class twice.
She holds all of her client meetings at MatchBOX.
She does, and she figured out how to like bill insurance by talking to other people in the class. Like I think she's one who really got the most out of her network because she asked such questions. Yeah.
She asked really good questions.
RoboAg is a soil sampling robot, like a fully autonomous soil sampling robot for agriculture, for farms. Ice Make Clear makes beautiful ice cubes for the whiskey enthusiast. Presso it looks like a vending machine, but it dry cleans your clothes. Got IT rebranded, but they are a software company and they help like call centers optimize operations. Yeah, Turntable was a vinyl subscription box. I think they sold. They're not, that brand doesn't exist anymore. And Antidote Modeling, he was an undergrad.
Yeah.
Undergrad student who was a really good 3D printer and was doing on-demand 3D modeling and printing for people. So that's like kind of a roundup. We've had cleaning companies, we've had
Food.
e-commerce, food, yeah. They've really been all over the map.
Yeah, a lot of service industries as well.
Yeah. And these are some of our partners where we will send people when they're ready for what's next. So the Anvil does not exist anymore, but
Hey, it's a student club.
that's
It's
true.
still a
It's
student
still a
club
student club. It's still
at
a student
Purdue.
club. The mill is like MatchBOX in Bloomington, Indiana. They run pitch competitions all year long called Crossroads, and that could be a good path to some revenue to help you get a business started. We've had folks come in and talk about doing the competition circuit where you can just like raise money from doing pitch competitions and other business
It's all
model
free money.
competitions. Yeah, non-dilutive. You keep all your business to yourself. The city of Lafayette has been helpful with helping people find like brick and mortar space when they're ready for that, but most cities and municipalities are willing to do that. Almost all of them have folks who are focused on economic development and like helping you find like a physical presence is kind of what they do. Some of these are local. Purdue Foundry is over on campus. Elevate Ventures and the Indiana Small Business Development Corporation are statewide, and they have ISBDC has coaches in every part of the state. It's an incredible resource. We encourage all of our participants and graduates to sign up to meet with them. They have access to software. They have a grant program for up to like $10,000 in grant projects.
Which one is this again?
Indiana Small Business Development Corporation. Just meet with them right away, basically. Reach out, meet with them right away. They'll pair you with someone. Do they call them coaches? I can't remember what term they use. But they pair you with someone right away. You have like an intake meeting and tell them about your business, and then they'll give you like personal advice, like business advice. They can tap into their software for you. They can tell you about all the statewide programs that you can use. And they do a lot with like very practical things too, like forming your business, like what kind of legal entity should you form as, those sorts of things.
Yeah, how to use QuickBooks.
Yeah, they do a lot with
They
QuickBooks.
do a lot of good like training, things like that.
Webinars too, good webinars too.
Good webinars, yeah. And they have they have a business loan program
They do.
too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
So they also have a business loan program.
And Elevate Ventures is dilutive, it's more like investment based. But I think they just said they're launching a new program that's starting at like $20,000 investments, which is great. So really, really early stage, $20,000 investments. Most of those are more like scalable, like they're gonna get big or they're investable because they'll come with a big return eventually, but still a great resource, great people to talk to. And then G-Beta does pre-acceleration and acceleration. It feeds into Generator, which is I guess a global program now, not even national, right? And just
Based
a
out of
good resource. Wisconsin?
Yeah, out of Wisconsin. I don't know. Milwaukee.
Wisconsin?
There's things happening in Wisconsin.
I know, I've been, it's beautiful.
It is.
Anyway, that's the bulk of that. We also have like a little snapshot of our curriculum or what the 7 weeks look like. So I'll
You got
zoom
it
over
in
that.
you got it in your other tab.
Yeah.
I'm useless. See?
Okay, so this is a little landing page that we put together with some more information on the program. The QR codes on the signs take you to this, and you can read more about the course here. The 7-week schedule and what we cover is listed here. It's a lot of message management, like figuring out what sets you apart or differentiates you from your competition, figuring out who your customer is and having some conversations with them before you get
That's
started.
what you were saying, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Making sure your product and your market fit, so you're making the right product for the right person or finding the right person for your product. Figuring out how big your market is, so if you are trying to take out a loan, you know that like how big you could possibly grow this or how many customers you could eventually acquire. We talk about competition, knowing who your competition is, what sets you apart, and business models, how you're gonna make money. And then it all culminates in a 10-slide deck or like a 10-slide presentation, and that's what you take to the mentors form at the end. So your last session is 15-minute one-on-ones over Zoom with mentors. from throughout the state who have a lot of experience with startups or small businesses. We try to match the mentors to what the people in the cohort are doing. So, you know, if someone's starting a candle company, we'll reach out to our friend who has an $8 million annual revenue candle company to be the mentor. And we try to do that every time. But you'll meet, you know, in a row, eight people who are now part of your network who can offer advice or ask questions. You can ask questions to them, etc. So that's what that looks like. And then the application I wanted to show you while we're here. Oh, there are a few testimonials in here from some of our program graduates. We also have a video, but I didn't want to show it over video. That seems like it could get a little
video on video.
Yeah.
We might break something.
We will definitely break something.
In space and time.
Oh, the perks, right. So you do get an affiliate membership to MatchBOX, and that gives you a certain number of free day passes every year. So if you're ever in the Lafayette area, you can stop in and work from the studio. It also allows you to like use our office hours and join any of our like workshops or programs at no cost. The cost is $25. That covers all 7 weeks. And this is the application. So it's not intimidating. I think I said application and people were like, we need weeks. I'm like, you need 12 minutes max. So it's your name, a little bit of information about your company. If you've already named it, we ask what name it has. We also don't what are verbs? It's not necessary that your business has a name when you apply. Like people do come in at idea stage and they're like, I want to start a blank business. It doesn't have to have a name now. A brief description of the business. If you have any links that you want to share, you can share them here. We ask if you're doing it part-time or full-time or other. And then like what your goals are, like what you hope to get out of it, what kind of growth you hope to see out of your business and out of you as an entrepreneur. Are there certain hurdles you're facing? Those kinds of things. And then we'll ask you how you heard about it, but that's all. Yeah, it's pretty easy. Yep. Do you have questions for us?
Anybody else? No?
We just talked a lot. I feel like we just talked a lot.
Anybody?
Yeah.
Anybody? Questions?
Raise your hand. Calm
Yeah.
down.
Get in the line behind the microphone, please.
Questions? Are we gonna learn how to apply for grants, or are we gonna have like a mentor that kind of teaches that?
We
possibly?
don't do a lot of like grant talks with this, mostly because it's primarily like for-profit businesses that go through it. Nonprofits can, but generally grants are geared toward nonprofits. But we have friends who work in the grant space, and I think our office hours program allows you to schedule a 30-minute one-on-one call with someone in our network who does help with grant writing. So you could tap into someone who could help you with that, but it's not part of the curriculum.
Yeah, we usually try and find, like if there's questions that come up, we usually try and say, okay, here's someone that we know that does this
Yeah.
or has experience with this, and we'll connect you with them at least, right? To be able to have a conversation with them.
Another question would be, if we're still in the idea stage during this 6-week accelerated business program, now is someone gonna be able to show us possibly a way to make our logo? If we're
Yeah.
still trying to figure that part out.
Yeah. So we have a unit on branding that we kind of talk through like different free tools that are available to you that you could use for early stage branding. We do have a microgrant program at MatchBOX, so after you finish the course, you can apply for a microgrant to be paired with a designer to get a logo made for you. Those are dependent on funding, so it is a thing that we fundraise for and a thing that we apply for grants for. It's just not guaranteed money or a guaranteed outcome, but it's a possibility. At the very least, you will have a group of people, like your other cohort members, and like being able to bounce ideas off of them, of like things that you create in tools that are free or low cost is a great resource. Also sometimes, there's a designer in the group who will give you some extra nudges toward what works aesthetically.
And you said it's gonna be like 10 or less people?
Yeah, 10's our goal. It just allows us to give everyone the floor. We do a lot of sharing, like as you do your coursework from week to week, we share the work that we did from the week prior at the beginning of the class. And to get through everyone, more than 10 doesn't work. We run run out of time.
Understand.
Yeah.
Definitely see that.
Yeah, we wanna be able to give people kind of as much one-to-one, you know, attention and time as we can, right?
Yeah.
And group
Right.
feedback, everyone kind of contributing to what each other's working on, and yeah, if you get outside of 10, it goes long, but also everyone's brains just can't take that much time and focus, right?
Is it just 10 people out of making space that you guys are
Yes.
accepting, correct? Okay, just
Yeah.
to make that clear.
Yeah.
Yeah, so please share with your Indie Biz Pass friends
Yeah,
as
yeah.
well,
Yes.
and let them know that this is available, cause this cohort is specifically just gonna be folks from, you know, kind of this community, from
Mhm.
Maven Space and, you know,
Friends
obviously-
of Maven Space.
and friends of Maven Space, yes.
Let's see, anybody have any questions?
You also don't have to ask any more questions if you know, like, don't
Yeah.
feel like you have to try and come up with
And
anything.
there's a link here, and anybody who has questions can email us from this landing page. It's mbx, like Matchbox, .studio/mavenspace. So it's easy to get to. And the email address is accelerate@mbx.studio. So any questions can go there and we'll get them answered for you.
And that's where you get to the application and everything too.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And I would really like recommend filling out the application no matter what.
Yeah.
Just so that it's done and it's there and it's an opportunity for you, and you'll at least get more information about what's coming next. So that even if you do end up deciding like it's not the right time or the right thing for you right now, at least if you decide that it is, you have your application already in. Because we do at times get to the point where we have to kind of pare down a little bit. And so we, you know, might have too many applications, but.
Quick question.
Yeah.
So if someone fills out this application and it's, you know, a certain business that they thought they wanted to go for, that they applied for, but then after being accepted, they do, and that's not the business, is there a way or a process that you guys can know and be okay with their change?
Yeah, I think just, conversation. Just
Okay.
honest about it.
Yeah, yeah, you know, it would have to be something totally out of bounds
Yeah.
in order for us to be like, well, that doesn't really make sense anymore. Because we find that most businesses, like it applies to most business ideas, most businesses that you would, try and put together. These principles all work.
The times where it doesn't, like the times where the class hasn't made a lot of sense or maybe hasn't been very beneficial, has mostly been if there's like a franchise model. So if you own your own business but it's part of a bigger brand or a corporation where there are a lot of parameters or restrictions on what you can and can't do with things like messaging and branding and customer and product, it may not be a good fit. Or if you're already to market, you have enough customers, you don't really have time for this, and you're not trying to grow or change your business operations, you might not get much out of it. If you're already where you want to be,
Yeah.
it's probably not going to be helpful. But if you're already to market and you have a new product, or you want to introduce your product to a new market, or you want to pivot a little bit, or figure out a different audience, it can work pretty well. Or rebrand. We've had people go through who are in the rebrand process, and they've appreciated the curriculum. So
Yeah.
I love that.
yeah, a few different applications, I guess.
Yeah.
But we're flexible. We're pretty flexible.
Yeah, I think because so much of it is like, it's a framework and then it's discussion based, right?
Yeah.
And it's based on feedback from the group, so it really can be very flexible based on the needs of the group, And I
Yeah.
think we kind of, try to tailor it even in the sessions. If it seems like this is a conversation that's of interest to the whole group, we're not so rigid that we have to stick directly with what's on the paper.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I think those are all my questions.
Awesome.
Well, thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, we
Thank
appreciate it. I'm gonna stop this video so Tori doesn't have to edit too much out.
That would be great.
Yeah.
And so that we also don't feel like we're still sitting here being recorded and have to act weird. I don't know when